Hello and welcome to AR on AR. I'm Adam Rose and today I'm going to be looking at water bottles versus water bladders, or some people call them camelbaks. So what I've got here on the table, a few examples of what you might be using in adventure racing. I'm going to go over the pros and cons of obviously using these two different kinds of hydration and some of the hints and tips that you might benefit from, whichever one you decide to choose. Okay, so in terms of water bottles, here I've got some ray light bottles. You can see two different examples there in terms of the mouthpiece. You know, this kind of right-angled mouthpiece versus a straight mouthpiece. I prefer the right-angled mouthpiece. Simple reason being, when it's on my backpack, put it over here, I can just reach for it like this. Whereas the vertical ones, I just have to, I don't know, I like them kind of oriented towards my mouth. That's just how I like it. So, in adventure racing, a lot of people use bottles with mouthpieces because they're just more convenient than having something, let's say like this, where you've got to actually open it up before you take a swig and then screw the lid back on. So the convenience of being able to drink easily and quickly is obviously going to benefit how often you're going to hydrate. And the same thing, you know, with a camelback type device, a water bladder, you know, you put this in your backpack and then you've obviously got the hose coming over your shoulder, and as some people like to do, you know, they lift up the mouthpiece and take a swig, or as I like to do, I like to root it under my arm and have it like this so that it's always facing upwards just like the bottles are, and I can just take a swig without having to use my hand. Anyway, so we've got those two. The benefits of this pretty much is that it's got a cap. So if this is sitting on the bike compared to the ones with the mouthpiece, the bite valve is protected from dirt and mud and all that kind of stuff, more hygienic, less likely to pick up a bug. And then a Nalgene type bottle, you know, various sizes, 500 ml, 750, in this case it's a liter. Again, really, really useful because robust, lasts forever, bomb-proof really. Large bottle opening so you can pour liquids in really easily, and obviously it's got a large carrying capacity. Okay, so we have all of these choices. What are you going to go for? So, in terms of the camelback type system, it's got some advantages going for it. And obviously it's been around for some time. So first of all, you know, it's got a wide opening. So you get different kinds, you know, some that have kind of a sleeve opening, some that got a screw-on lid like this. The benefit of this is you can carry a large capacity. You get them in different liter volumes. Usually I wouldn't buy anything less than 2 liters, so 2 to 3 liter. There's no point in buying 1 liter, it's too small to be of any use. And 2 liters, you don't have to fill it right up, or 3 liters, you don't have to fill it right up, but if you need to, you can. So you want to get something at least 2 liters, if not more. Now, one of the benefits of using this kind of hydration system is that you can take the bladder out of the pack, and when you're kayaking or canoeing, you no doubt have to wear a PFD. And if you buy a decent PFD, they'll have a zip pocket on the back. And you can take the bladder out of your backpack, stuff it into the zip on the back of the PFD, route the tube over, and then be drinking. And the benefit of this is, when you're kayaking and paddling, you want to be moving constantly. And by using something like a bladder like this, if it's, you know, facing correctly upwards like this, you can take a sip from the drink without pausing in your paddling. And while some people might say, well, couldn't you just do that with a bottle? Yes, you could. But then you've got to wear your backpack while you're paddling. And that's a bad idea because it's an extra load on your shoulders. Generally, when people are paddling in an adventure race, you want to take the backpack off your shoulders, relieve the burden, put it in one end of the boat, and, you know, be as least encumbered as possible. So a PFD that can take a water bladder on the back is a really good investment. And you can not only take water, of course, you can take liquid nutrition. So whether it's Carbo Pro, Tailwind, High Five, whatever it is, you can get energy coming in rather than solid food that you'd have to stop and use your hand. And if you're using your hand, you're not paddling, and therefore you're not making any progress. So I would say a bladder is a very good idea for any water stage. And, you know, if you need to carry large amounts of water, good investment. Okay, now moving over to the bottles. I am a fan of bottles, and although I might have a bladder in my kit, and I might leave one stashed in my backpack, I usually, if I have to choose between the two, I'm going to go for bottles. Now, just to show you what it might look like on a pack. Okay, so I'll put this pack on. It's empty at the moment. It's got the bottle holders. So put one, there we go. And as I say, I prefer this kind of valve. I can just reach for it. It's pointing in the right direction. Well, ideally, this could work, or maybe I could move the bottle holder further down. I do have right angle bite valves for both my bottles. I'm just showing you the variety of options that you've got. Now, the benefits of using these things for me are, first of all, you can see how much liquid you've got. And that's critical because, when you start out, if you've got one of these in your backpack, you know how much you put in there. But unless you're taking really close observation and you've worked it out, I suppose, in training, you don't know how much liquid you've got left. All you're doing is you're drinking, and then suddenly you run dry. And when you run dry, like, what do I do? Whereas with these kind of things, at a glance, they're just sitting in the holsters like this. At a glance, I can look and see how much liquid I've got, which is going to affect how often I hydrate and my planning, basically, to, especially ration the water if we caught low, very hot conditions, and you're trying to get to that next point where you can refill the bottles. So, being able to tell how much you got is a big deal. Second thing, I can put different mixes in these two bottles. So, for example, I might have plain water in this one, and I might put an electrolyte or some sort of, as I say, energy-based product in another one. So you're not forced to have a single flavor or a single sauce. I mean, you could have two different kinds of electrolytes and one in each bottle just to give yourself some variety. And variety is good because then you're likely to drink more. So that's quite beneficial. One of the biggest reasons in favor of using bottles is that it's so much quicker to refill. When I've done, especially ultras, and you're coming into an aid station at an ultra, not quite like an adventure race, but still using these in an ultra. As I'm coming in, I'm unscrewing this, right? And the reason I mention ultras is because when you have manned aid stations, you don't have to fill the bottles yourself. Whereas in adventure racing, you, as a team member, you've got to do that all yourself as a team. So I run into an aid station. I've already done these lids, and as I walk in, I just go straight up to the thing and just say, fill it up, literally 30 seconds or less. Put them in, and as I'm running out, I'm just screwing these things back up again. So for long distance running, really, really practical. And then on the adventure racing side, obviously I can just take this bottle out, refill it from some water source, and put it back in there. Really, really quickly. Don't have to take my pack off. Very, very simple. Now, if you compare that to using a bladder, I take the pack off. The bladder typically goes inside a sleeve, inside there. And I'll just stuff it in just for the moment, just so you can see. I'm sure most of you have tried this out or used one of these before. But, I've got to take the pack off my back in order to access it. I've got to route it through whatever sort of hole there is, to feed it around to my arms. So here we go. All right. And then ideally have it facing upwards. But it takes time to take the pack off, it takes time to get in amongst all your other stuff. And this backpack right now is empty. You can imagine if it was full of kit, it's going to be hard to get the bladder in and out, especially putting it back in when it's full. And the bladder is taking up space inside the pack, which could otherwise be reserved for gear. So again, I'm not saying bladders are bad things, but bladders for me personally are not my primary source of hydration. I'd much rather go with the bottles. Okay, other benefits of using bottles over bladders is that when I need to refill on the go, let's say in the middle of a stage, you go past a stream, go past a waterfall or something, the bottle, I can just take it out of the holster, refill without basically stopping, just scoop some water out of that stream, maybe put in a water purifying tablet, iodine or something like that, put it back in and keep on moving. Again, with the bladder, I've got to take the pack off to stop, and then I'm going to be less likely to hydrate because it's too much of a faff and I don't want to slow the team down. So being able to refill from nearby water sources is really, really practical, not just in transitions. Another benefit of using bottles, when I go on a bike stage, as you'll see increasingly nowadays, people like to transfer the weight from their backpack on a trekking stage onto the bike and let the bike take the weight, less weight on your shoulders. So when I've got these in my backpack, I come off a trekking stage. As I go to the bike, I just pull them out of the holsters, put them into the bottle cages on the bike. The weight is transferred, and off I go. With a water bladder, yes, you're just going to have to bear it on your back the whole time. Okay, what I'm going to quickly show you is I did a few tests just to compare the time it takes to do bottles refilling versus water bladder refilling. And I just ran it a few times, and you can see it's not a huge difference, but what you want to do is, every single percentage that you can work at, every single little fraction that you can work towards your benefit to be more efficient is going to accumulate over the length of a race, is going to benefit you in terms of your speed, in terms of the amount of time you spend in transition. And just a few other little tips in terms of using water bottles and bladders. On this pack here, I've got these holsters. These didn't come with a pack. You can buy them from various different brands. Innovate's got some, Out There had some. These are Raid Light. I've been using them for a long time. And you can just put them onto, adapt them onto the straps of whatever backpack you're using. You can use zip ties or whatever. Just they're going to work. Now, you don't have to go out and buy these things. They're not hugely expensive. I think a bottle with the holster altogether was about £10 when I bought this stuff a while ago. But you can even just use bungee cord, the kind of bungee cord that I've shown you before in making a tow rope, that kind of stretchy stuff. You can just make loops of it, and it'll go around the bottle, pinch the bottle, where there's a little indentation, and that'll be quite sufficient. I just like the holsters because it's less of a faff, it's easier to use, and more secure, I suppose, ultimately. So you can create your own or go and buy some if you need to. Now, an alternative, especially here I've got one of the bigger Out There packs, not the normal 30-litre one. This is a 45-litre option. It's got, just like the smaller packs, it's got these beaver pockets, or beaver tails I call them, or something, I don't know, on the straps. So if I'm going to be putting the bottles in here, I don't really want to obscure the pockets themselves. I want to use these pockets for stuff, so I probably wouldn't put holsters over here. So the idea might be that I put them on the waist belt, I might put them over here on the side. It's got to reach it now. Okay, so there you can see it on my pack, and I can still reach for it. You just got to get used to the flow, drink, and then put it back inside the pocket. So you don't have to put them on the straps of the pack itself. Okay, some people ask the question, should you use hard bottles or soft bottles? These soft flasks are quite popular nowadays. I'd go with hard bottles every time. You can see straight away one of the benefits, you can just stand it upright. So I can take the lid off, I can refill it without having to hold it, I can drop tabs in it, and then leave that to one side while I'm in transition getting other stuff ready, and let the fizz dissipate from the electrolyte tablets, just like that. You couldn't do that with a soft flask. Plus, hard bottles tend to be more robust, less likely to puncture, and they hold their shape better, I think anyway, in terms of the holsters. Okay, so for me, hard bottles every time. Okay, so in conclusion, you must go with what you like to use, and at the very least, try out bottles in addition to trying out camelbaks. And if you really need a lot of water on a stage, what my solution would be is I'd have the bottles on the front, 750 mils each, that's 1.5 liters, and have the camelbak with its 2 liters or whatever, and that way I've got 3.5 liters rather than just a huge camelbak in the back. And of course I can benefit from seeing how much liquid I've got left, and I can ration it appropriately. There have been races in adventure racing where teams have had to carry huge amounts of water on a stage. I'd rather distribute it all over my person and have the practicality of the bottles, but then the carrying capacity of the camelbak on the back. I just want to thank Dave Archer on YouTube. He commented on one of the videos I produced. He asked which is the better option when it comes to hydration. So if you ask questions like this, I'll grab them and turn them into topics, and hopefully they'll be useful to you. All right, thanks. See you on the next one.